The invention of the radio was one of the most significant happenings in not only American history, but in the world. And to this day, I haven't tried it, but I would imagine if you look up, you put on the Googlers and find, who's the inventor of radio, I would almost bet you that it says, well, Marconi. And there was a war going on. Who was the true inventor of radio? Well, Nikola Tesla was. And when asked about it, and asked about the advances that Marconi had made in radio, to paraphrase, Tesla said, well, that's great, because he's using 17 of my patents to do it. And later the Supreme Court had a ruling in the 1940s, after Tesla was dead, that said, yeah, he was the true inventor of radio. Nikola Tesla is such an important inventor in American history and world history, he deserves his own video, and he'll have one. So back to the invention of radio. It was the immediacy of information, and that's on every level you could imagine. The news, the word news, N-E-W-S, north, east, west, south. News, that's where the term came from. It was from all over the place, and you could get that information immediately. Whereas prior to that, you waited on the telegraph, you waited on the newspaper, which could be days or weeks or even months old when they were developing the West. You were waiting on that information. What's going on back east? Once they came up with radio, even the remote populations in Appalachia, the Tennessee Valley, and the Ozarks had nearly immediate access to information. Now that was on every level, not just your news. Maybe it was local happenings. Maybe it was the ball games or the boxing matches. Like I said, prior to that, you were dependent on the newspaper. Well, if you didn't read the newspaper, you didn't get it. You might hear about the event, you might not. But with the invention of radio, all of this information was nearly immediate. And now you knew. If you were a St. Louis Cardinals fan, instead of waiting on the next day's newspaper to read about it, you could hear it happen. You could hear the bat hitting the ball and the excitement of the crowd. Same thing with prize fighting, boxing. He took a fall, he's been knocked out. And you could hear that. Families used to gather around the radio because there was no television, thank God. And it was just this listening, and you had to imagine, now you're using your mind, even though it's being entertained, you're simultaneously using your mind to envision what's going on in the crowd, the uproar. You could listen to entire plays and perhaps Broadway broadcasts. This was a family deal. Information, news, maybe helpful tips. What's going on? What happened with that big storm out east? Is everybody okay? I got an uncle that lives out there, and maybe we should go out and see. You didn't know prior to that. You had to wait, and the information was iffy. But with radio, it was immediate. The trouble with that is the information could be manipulated if just a select few could get all the groups together and own them all. That's what we're seeing present day. These big conglomerates like Clear Channel buying up all these smaller radio stations. Now they have control. And the whole ballgame has changed. I can't barely listen to the radio now. When I do, it's the little bitty local station that pumps out oldies. And by oldies, that could mean 1980s. That's how dated I am. The point being, by buying up all these little stations, now you have control over all. And there's 3 or 4 of these stations in America today, and they control it. On a base level, your music. Bob Seger has 80 gazillion songs, and 90% of them are pretty good. Why do we have to hear Night Moves and old-time rock and roll over and over and over and over? Rolling Stones, same thing. They got a catalog a mile long. Why do we have to hear Satisfaction over and over? Brown Sugar, how's come you dance so good? The trouble with that is, supposedly, they sent out surveys to 100 people And the vast majority say we want to hear things that we're familiar with. Well, the radio stations took that to mean, well, they want to hear satisfaction. Give it to them. Used to be, I mean, all from the invention of radio clear up through the 70s and even the 80s, programmers and radio stations, DJs, could pick what they wanted to hear. They had phone lines where you could call in and request this new band Led Zeppelin, and can we hear some of that? And they could play any cut they wanted to. They put the needle on the vinyl in the studio. Now, I believe it's all computerized. You don't even need a live DJ. It's just a computer that randomly picks this stuff out. But you barely get any songs. It's all advertising. I can't listen to it. It's unbearable. Also, with the invention of radio and the conglomerations, like I said, they control the information now. So it may not be accurate, but whatever they say, that's the majority. Because I heard it on this other radio station too, and this other radio station. I heard it there as well. Well, they're all owned by the same people. What kind of different information you think you're going to get? You're going to get the narrative. That's never, ever good. Something I would recommend everybody, every American own, is a shortwave radio. If nothing else, just for the base level emergencies. There's a whole bunch of variations of them and styles. A good one will have a crank on the side of it where you can generate your own electricity, so you're not reliant on the plug-in in the wall. Well, you know, if there's a storm, that's not going to work. You don't have to worry about your batteries, and now they're super old and I let them go dead, and now we don't have any information or whatever. You can generate your own with a crank on the side of the radio. I own one somewhere. I need to dig that out. You also have a flashlight. Even though, I mean, that'll suck the juice right out of it. You just crank it up again. At least you have a temporary source of light where you could find some, you can find the candles. Now you can be mobile with your light to a certain degree. They're a valuable tool in any kind of emergency type situation. And you can hear what's going on somewhere else. And with a shortwave radio that I believe works through the ionosphere. But anyway, at night when the signal is less because everybody's sleeping, I can pick up stuff from Japan, Germany. I mean, I don't know what they're saying because I don't speak those languages. But it is interesting to listen to. And you have the nutballs, the Art Bells and as far as I'm concerned, you could put the Rush Limbaughs in that category. Doesn't matter. You can pick and choose what you want to listen to. But the development of that and the invention of the radio, where you could get signals over vast distances, still fascinates me to this day. And I skipped all over the 1980s and the payola scandals, which was record companies bribing radio promotion. They could break a band by force because they gave them cocaine or they gave them cash money. It was a huge scandal. Congress got involved. Nobody really suffered a whole lot from it because there were too many close associations. That's a whole other topic. That kind of goes back to our narrative and the collection and the aggregate of power over information, and it's never a good thing. Hey, I thank you for watching. I do appreciate your time. If you want to put down your comments in the bottom, I'm always interested to read them. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.